All right, we're going to cover a couple different things in this one. I don't know how many of you have ever seen the movie Predators, where the best of the best killers from around the world are transported off planet and dropped onto another planet so that the predators can have their hunt. In that movie, there's one scene where one of the people in the group is wounded and left to cry out to draw the other people in so that the predators can do what they do. And one guy says, "Wait a minute, don't go in there, don't fall for that. This is what I have done myself." And he explains to them on how if you wound a man and leave him to cry out for his fellow soldiers, that they'll come to try and aid and assist him, and you can pick them off one by one. And he says at the end of his little speech, "I know this to be true because I have done this myself." And there are several examples throughout the movie of how to play on people's frailties, sympathies, and so forth and so on, so that others, in this case the predators, can accomplish their goal. I told you that story so that I could talk about this, so you'll have a point of reference to understand what I'm getting at. The term commercially viable. Number one, who does that apply to? People that YouTube and Google say aren't advertising friendly, that they can't make money off of because they don't, or the corporations don't want to run ads, according to YouTube, on their content. And who does that term apply to the most? Conservatives and Republicans. And or people who favor the Constitution in the content that they put up. To the best of my knowledge, YouTube has sole discretion of who gets ads and who doesn't. The people who submit for advertising with Google and YouTube have no control over that. Maybe they're able to request certain kinds of videos, but the way things have unfolded, I highly doubt it. Because a lot of people have been demonetized on YouTube over a wide spectrum of topics. However, overall, across all the social media platforms, for the most part, it's been Republicans, conservatives, and the people who believe in the Constitution that have been squelched and censored the most. And that brings us to the current times that we're in right now. Up until now, it's been all fun and games for the other side because they have been under the impression that they're in control of the narrative and they have been able to make people commercially unviable whenever they choose to, by banning them from their platform, by taking monetization away, and all kinds of other means. This is something we've all witnessed and know to be true. So logically, what would the next step be when things start going the other way and their narrative is challenged and they start losing control? Well, I'm of the opinion that the new policy changes effective on the 10th of this month revolve around all of that, because they want to control the narrative and make their information more pertinent than the information that's coming out, so they can squelch down the truth as it comes out. And this is what I know to be true, because I haven't done it myself, but I've had it done to me. People spreading rumors and false accusations and trying to discredit my message because they don't want the information to come out. And if you think about it, it's been a common tactic throughout all of this as we have went along. For the most part, it's went like this. Let out a little bit of truth, just enough to make it believable, and then discredit everything that comes after. And while we're on the subject of the truth, let's talk about the Democratic Party and the Ukraine. A lot of people aren't aware of this, but the Ukraine has been a hotbed of corruption and ripe for the picking for the people who are in power to line their own pockets. For instance, Joe Biden and his son. Were you aware that John Kerry's son is involved in Ukraine as well? And just by coincidence, John Kerry came out yesterday and endorsed Joe Biden. Thick as thieves, or so it would appear. Most of us have met these kind of people. People who manage to say the right things, give the right impression, but we find out later that they're actually snakes who will do anything and everything in order to accomplish their agendas and or enrich themselves along the way.
I'm a retired farmer. You kind of unique with another book. Okay. I've got two problems with you. One is you're 10 years into life. I'm 83. And I know damn well I don't have the mental faculties I did. All right. The other three things. That's all. I'm not forgetting that. I'll answer. I got a question I want you to answer. We all know Trump has been messing around in Ukraine over there, holding their foreign aid for them to come up, saying that they're investigations. We don't like investigations. He's a little back on for that. But you, on the other hand, that's your son over there. He had a job and worked for a gas company, but he had no experience in gas or nothing. In order to get access to the public, to the president. So you're selling access to the president just like he is. So you
You're a damn liar, man. That's not true. And no one has ever said that? No one has heard that?
I see it on the TV.
You see it on the TV. No, I know you do. By the way, that's why I'm not sedentary. I get up and no, let him go. Let him go. Look, the reason I'm running is because I've been around a long time and I know more than most people know. And I can get things done. That's why I'm running. And you want to check my shape on it, let's do push-ups together here, man. Let's run. Let's do whatever you want to do. Let's do Number two, no one has said my son has done anything wrong, and I did not on any occasion. And no one has ever said it. Not
I didn't say you were doing anything wrong.
You said I set up my son to work in an oil company.
And they did.
Get your words straight, Jack.
That's what I read here on MSNBC.
You don't hear that in MSNBC. You did not hear that at all. What you heard. Look.
You didn't hear that on MSNBC because MSNBC, CNN, and the other major news corporations, for the most part, are all in the bag for the Democrats.
getting more than you, man.
Well, I don't want to.
Well, yeah, you do, but, look, look, here's the look, here's the deal. Look, here's the deal. Look, here's the deal. Here's the deal.
It looks like you don't have any backbone in the Trump. That's what you're.
Any other questions?
Yeah, all right.
Look, fat ass, here's the deal. That's what he was going to say. This man is a snake. A dim-witted snake at that. That's why Obama said to him, Joe, you don't have to do this. Because he knew that he was a liability. That's why Obama didn't endorse his vice president when he was running for the presidency, because he knows that he's a liability. Not to mention the fact that he knows everything that went on in Ukraine, because it's 99.999% possible that he was involved. Using Joe Biden as his front man to sell access to the White House. And that brings us full circle to the reasons why they shadow ban people and claim that they're commercially not commercially viable, and are and will, in my opinion, use that as an excuse to silence their voices and terminate their content. Because, as I have said on several occasions, this is a hell of a lot bigger than most people think. And everyone who has been instituting and promoting these practices and policies is involved in some way or another. Meaning the mainstream media, so-called fake news, which for the most part they are, the social media platforms who silence people at their discretion in order to kill discussion and continue their narrative, right down to the committees that have been doing sham investigations against the president in order to continue their false narrative. Leading me back to something I was told by a combat veteran years ago. If you want to defeat your enemy, you better be willing to observe how he operates. Because if you're not, you probably aren't going to be observing much of anything. Because he'll take you out before you're able to develop a strategy.